ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदाङ्कितं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवां श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणश्रीललिता विशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुण सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामनि नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेषाय शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणी। जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा। Prabhujis and Matajis, welcome to the online level 2 Bhagavad Gita classes from ISKCON Mangalore. So today we'll be starting chapter 5, which is Karma Yoga. And before we start, let's do a quick recap of chapter 4. Yes. So anyone would like to give a quick recap? May not be in sequence, but yeah. So whatever you remember, whatever you recollect, any reflections from chapter 4?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat.
Hare Krishna Sukhan Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. So yesterday we started with karma, vikarma, and akarma. So we
Yes,
understood
Prabhu.
these three concepts of karma, vikarma, and akarma, where karma is the prescribed duty as per the scriptures that we perform,
Yes, Prabhu.
and vikarma is that doing against the scriptures,
Hmm.
and akarma is action performed for the sake of for Krishna consciousness and for the purpose of Krishna, satisfying Krishna. Then we discussed in details about those. I think you have given examples of the karma, vikarma, and akarma,
Yes, Prabhu.
where akarma was Narad Muni, who is the actually surrendered soul. I think the example I remember. And then there was a topic of action in inaction and inaction in action.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I'll need a bit of more understanding on this.
Yeah, that's okay, Prabhu. Maybe we'll ask someone else. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So yeah, anyone else want to continue from where Prabhu left? So you can actually unmute and then tell. Say anyone. So whatever you recollect, right? So bits and pieces is also okay. Because I'm not an examiner, so I don't expect answers to be in the sequence. So anything goes well. No? And then we went through the sacrifices, right? So different types of sacrifices in transcendental knowledge, right? And then we went, the next section was wherein, say, where do we get this transcendental knowledge from? Yeah. And then, say, who can give that? So, and so what are the benefits of it? Whom do we approach? How do we get it? Yeah. So we went through all those. And at the end, say, Krishna concludes saying that So keeping transcendental knowledge in your mind, right? So you can fight. So he instructs Arjuna to fight. Yeah. So today we'll be going into chapter 5, which is Karma Yoga. So again, here again Arjuna's question: work or renunciation? Yeah. Arjuna actually asks this question again and again because he's not in mood, and say he's looking for a chance wherein he can actually skip the battle. Okay. Prabhu, you have something? You
Yes,
have?
bro. Just remembered one important point that we discussed yesterday. That was
Prabhu.
Tadbidhi Pariprate
Yeah, yeah, Prabhu.
Pariprasnana Sevaya. That is very important.
Yeah, so that's the last one I spoke, right? Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you. So in this again, same work or renunciation. So again he'll ask. So in the third section, right, of Bhagavad Gita, again you'll see Sri Arjuna asking the same questions. Arjuna asks 3 times: work or renunciation. Yeah. So we'll actually continue that journey here. So it's an extension. So now, because Krishna, right, say he gave all the transcendental knowledge, right, and in the chapter 4, right, and so that's nothing but jnana, right, and so now Arjuna feels that say jnana is more important. Yeah. So for him, jnana is nothing but renunciation. So renunciation of work is what jnana for Arjuna, and at this stage and karma is nothing but to fight. Yeah. So he's confused. Okay. And I think most of us also are confused like that only, right? So possibly bhog or yog, right? So and in between we have rog also, right? So bhog, rog, yog. So that's something which we entangle. So when we have more bhoga, right? So we eat more, or say we do more bhoga, then we get rog, right? Bhoga, and then we get rog, and then to actually suppress that rog, we go to yoga classes, and then again start bhoga, roga. So this is our cycle. Anyhow, so that's I was just extending Arjuna's question. But in this chapter, right? So he's asking, work or going to the forest. So he's asking again. He's asking question to Krishna, and then Krishna answers him. So Krishna answers that say you'll have to fight with transcendental knowledge. Eh? So do karma with transcendental knowledge. So that is the essence of this chapter. And then this chapter has got 29 slokas. So we'll see whatever we can cover this. So if I cover all 29, it will be rush, but we'll see. So at least if we can cover 15 or 20, right? So that somewhere in between. Rest, whatever small portion is left, we'll cover in the next section and then see how things flow on. So depending upon today's class flow. Yeah. Okay, let me share the slide. Okay, so we are here. Okay, this is what the chapter 4 summary and chapter 5, right? So chapter 5 actually is nothing but Nishkama Karma Yoga, easier than renunciation. So again, a question to which answers, yeah, and then how do we perform? So platform of knowledge of knowing 3 doers, yeah. So this is something which we should know. So this is more detail, yeah. So Krishna is going one more level up, okay, and then he's actually giving more details to us, and then liberating by focus on the super soul, liberation through Ashtanga Yoga, and place on the platform of liberation. So this is something this today's modules. Yeah. So Arjuna again asks whether renouncing work is superior or to work with detachment. Yeah. So here Krishna replies, both in are equal in the sense that both are means because they both have the same goal. Yeah. And then he emphasizes on working with detachment. Yeah. So as easier and superior. So he's saying that do karma with detachment and then keeping Krishna in mind. Yeah. So that is what Krishna is asking for. And see, the main problem of renunciation is, right, so in this world also, right? So people think that renunciation means going and sitting somewhere, right? So or possibly going to a holy place, yeah, so leaving all the material relationships and everything, and then they feel that okay, so if I go and then I meditate in a holy place, right, so that's sannyasi. But it's not possible, because even there, right, our senses will not allow us to do, yeah. So wherever, because our senses are very active, right, and all of a sudden you can't go and then sit in a place and then say that okay, so I'll renounce everything and then start living as a sannyasi. So it's not possible even in this age, right? So in this age, that kind of worship is not recommended, right? So we can't do it. So do we find a secluded place? So getting a place where there is no disturbance, yeah, and say free from all these things, right? All these material attachments is a very difficult thing, right? So because these days urbanization and then say globalization, whatnot. So we don't have such a feasibility to do all those things. Yeah. So that is something which we can't do, at least in the age of Kali. Yeah. So and then to Arjuna's question, right? So yeah, Arjuna asks, "Oh Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then you again recommend to work with devotion." Yeah. So he's again asking, now will you kindly tell me which is more beneficial? So I think to this Krishna will answer no. Yeah. So he'll say work with devotion. Yeah. And then all these things, yeah, see, these are nothing but say the little bit of flashback. Okay, so wherein all these things came up to Arjuna. Yeah. So in this chapter 2 he had here, and then in chapter 3, right? So these things were again touched. Yeah? So again in chapter 4 also we had a section. Yeah? So therefore the doubts which have arisen in your heart are out of ignorance. So all the time he says that this is the last verse. Okay, so wherein say Krishna instructs Arjuna to fight, and then before that say he got all transcendental knowledge, right? So now he's actually confused. This is all the link up. Okay, so from where the jnana starts, then jnana worked through buddhi yoga, and then again Arjuna became confused. Yeah, jnana or buddhi yoga, so it's nothing but nishkama karma yoga, right? So again chapter 3, what should he do? Heard about karma yoga through jnana, action in action, inaction in action, conclusion glorifying transcendental knowledge. So this is all the flow, right? So all these things are going on, and then so he again got confused, and then he wanted some clarification. Okay. So basically, so this is the sequence. Okay. So what happens? All the living beings, right? So they make plans for the future. So any human being is there, right? So they always think of the future. Okay. So how does these things arrive actually? So thoughts are manifested in actions, whatever we think, right? And then repeated action form our habits. Yeah. So this is the difficult part. So because currently say we are into this, right? Many of us are in, so getting rid of old habits is very difficult. Yeah? So habits make up our character, and then character makes our destiny. Okay. So how to accept, how to take steps in the right direction is prescribed in fifth chapter. Okay. So this is more of how do we get relieved from liberation, freedom, tranquility, and then so how do we actually get relieved from the entanglements of worldly complexities? Okay, so this is just a pictorial form. Yeah, we'll go here. So Arjuna is confused. Why? Yeah, because Arjuna is clarifying all these doubts for us. Yeah, so to stress that work and renunciation are not opposed. Okay, Arjuna, what Arjuna thinks? Okay, Arjuna thinks jnana implies the renunciation of work. So going to jungle is what jnana is for him. Okay, not fighting the war, and knowledge, and that knowledge and work, like light and darkness are contradictory. So he says that both cannot exist. Yeah. So if Jnana is there, then work will not be there. If work is there, then Jnana will not be there, is what Arjuna thinks. Yeah. Krishna, however, emphasizes that one in knowledge should also work. Okay. He's saying to do both. Okay. So even so, what Arjuna is thinking, right? So of thinking going to forest, right? So he being a Kshatriya, right? Even if he would have done that, right? So will anyone actually appreciate? So even his family members wouldn't, right? So because that is his dharma. Yeah? So Arjuna's confusion now. You say work for sense activity must be given up. Fighting for a kingdom, even with knowledge of the soul, seems like activity of senses to me. Okay. Therefore, it should be given up. If one works with devotion, then how is work stopped? You speak in riddles, action, inaction, inaction, inaction. I'm confused. So basically, he's asking all those. So work or renunciation. Yeah, he's still either go to forest and become a yogi or say here bogi. So he's confused. And then Krishna says that you have to do both. Yeah? But you'll have to fight with transcendental knowledge or keeping Krishna in center. So here, so Lord Krishna says, right, the personality of God had replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. And then we have a small analysis also, so wherein we have got a small comparison of renunciation. Yeah? So, what is the path of jnana and what is the path of karma? Yeah? Say karma with devotional service is nothing but nishkama karma yoga. Yeah? So even in third chapter, we touch base that the end goal is to reach Krishna. Yeah. So in either ways, but one is very difficult. So when one is very dry and yeah, say we'll just see the comparison here. Yeah. So here there is a jnani, and then here so this is karma yoga. Yeah. So this mostly right because they want to control the senses, right? Even in the so they actually go to the Himalayas when so there is ice and snow is falling, right? So they actually don't wear proper clothes and then sit because they want to actually um, say they want to actually go to the extremes. Yeah, so they want to control these the bodily senses with extremes. Even they lit the fire in a circle, say in a hot summery day, right? So when the temperatures is around 45 or so, right? So even in that, right? Say they lit fire in a circle and then they sit in the center. Yeah. So they want to actually control all the material senses in that way. Yeah. So if you look right, so this is a comparison between Sankhya and karma or Jnana and karma. Yeah. So both actually are looking for the same thing. Yeah. Say like to get liberated. Yeah. So here the Jnani, right, comes to understand that he is soul, not this body, and becomes detached from matter. Okay. Here he becomes attached to Krishna. Okay. So here what he knows is comes to understand that he is soul, not this body. So detachment of matter and attachment of Krishna. Yeah. So that should be the goal. Okay. So that is the best option. Yeah. So they detach to the material world, right? And then they should have some attachment. Else it is going to be very difficult here. And then the chances are that we will fall. Okay. So, but in this case, right? So, because they'll be doing services and then they'll be remembering Krishna all throughout the day, right? So, and they actually pray Krishna and then they do all the services, right? And then even Krishna reciprocates here, yeah. So, that's the basic difference because they actually look at the impersonal form, right? So, and then here, right, in Karma Yoga, we look into the personal form. And so there is another table, yeah, which actually gives a comparison between the two sannyasis, right? So what do they do? So Mayavadi sannyasi and Vaishnava sannyasi, okay, so whose work in devotion. So needs prior purification by prescribed duties, else you cannot take up a sannyasi. So process itself purifies, okay. So here simply jnana, but action is must here, okay. So risk of fall down, success is guaranteed. Incomplete renunciation, complete renunciation, because so here still, right, so we are actually the renunciation, even though we say that renounce, right, but for the bodily maintenance, right, so we are still actually say like breathing or eating, all those things we are still doing, right? So and then there are chances that we can slip, but if we look in Krishna consciousness, right, so what we can do is we offer everything to Krishna and then we consume, right, so that becomes sanctified. Yeah. So the chances of falling is less. And then they, with all these jnana, right, they try to find the root. Okay. With jnana they'll know that Vishnu is the ultimate. Yeah. And then here they directly water the root, okay, through devotional service. Watering is nothing but doing all devotional services, chanting and all those nine devotional services we have in, right? So that is watering. Yeah. And then no happiness brings happiness, detach of matter, becomes attached to Krishna, takes many births, okay, because he has to understand, right? So Jnani, so and he may fall down and then he goes into the cycles. Yeah. So he has to actually climb the ladders. Here it's a lift. Yeah. But yes, faith is important. So it's not that we don't have faith, then say everything will settle. No. So we should have faith. And then studies Sankhya philosophy. Here he studies Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So, and these all things, say Sharirika Bhasha on Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya, and then he studies Bhagavatam. So, and I'd like to tell something about Bhagavatam. Okay. Say now in Bhagavad Gita, right? So whatever we are reading, so it's like our formulas, okay, our mathematics formulas, or say it is the guide of to how to live a life. Yeah. So and then say it's more of the formulas and then all those things, right? So when but Bhagavad Gita, which is Bhagavatam, is next step. Yeah. So if we say Bhagavad Gita is graduation, right? Bhagavatam is post graduation. So wherein the detailed derivations of your formulas are being given. Yeah. The whole process of how devotional service is done. So all those things are discussed in Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses. Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. Okay. And yeah. So, and the other thing is, say, if at all, if anyone has Srimad Bhagavatam or who wants to read, right? So please do not jump any of the cantos and read it. Okay. So Bhagavatam has to be read in sequence from canto number 1. Even if you read the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, right, Srila Prabhupada actually has very categorically insisted that we should not jump in between Bhagavatam sets, yeah, because Bhagavatam takes time. Yeah. So there are 12 cantos, so and even the books are huge, and so there are 18,000 verses to cover, right? And unless we read daily for some hours, right, so we can't complete Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam takes time, but yeah, and in most of the places, right, so wherever Bhagavatam is discussed in short, right, so they usually jump into Canto 10. So basically to attract people, but we, right, we shouldn't do that. We should actually go in sequence. Let it take time, but yes, so that is the way we should read in, yeah. So it takes time. So Bhagavatam takes time, but yes, so we'll have to go through in that sequence itself. Okay. And so the other thing is, so when now we are talking about this Papa and Punya and all those things, right, in Karma Yoga. So I just wanted to actually tell you a story of King Nriga. Okay. So he was a very pious king. Okay. So he used to do all the pious activities, all he used to follow all the rituals prescribed in the Vedas. Okay. And so once he was distributing the cows to the Brahmanas. Okay. So he had lakhs of cows, and then he used to give hundreds of cows to the Brahmanas. Okay. So whosoever were approaching him, right, he used to give. So one day, what happened is he gave a lot of 100 cows. Okay. So with that cows, right, so they were not only ordinary cows. The horns of the cows were decorated with gold and silver. Okay. And then he used to give them in charity. So he was doing all pious activity. So one day he gave 100. The next day, there was another Brahmana who came in. So when he came in, right, what happened is in the first day when he gave those 100 cows as charity, right, one of the cow came back to the Goshala. Because cows have tendency, right? So you can't stop them. So somehow one of them actually came back to the Goshala, and then it entered into the herd, wherein the next day the king gave 100 more cows to the other Brahmana. So the Brahmana took away 100. So the first Brahmana, right, he saw that one of his cow is missing, and then that cow is being given as a charity to the other Brahmana. Okay. And then he comes to the king, and then he says that, so you are a cheater. This is how you are doing charity. And then he says that you gave me the cows, and then again you are distributing the same cow to the other Brahmana. So now the king is in an dilemma. Okay. He goes to the second Brahmana, and he says that, please give me that cow, and instead I'll give you 1,000 cows. Okay. So that Brahmana says that it's not possible. Say, I can't take more charity. Okay. So even say the charity, right? Say is accepted as much is required. Yeah. So they don't accept too much charity also. He said that no, I don't need any more charity. Whatever I have, I am sufficient. I don't need. So then he comes to the first Brahmana, and then he says that okay. So anyhow, so one cow is misplaced. So I'll give you 100 more cows instead of that one cow. So the second one says that say once you have given, So yeah, the first one says that I have enough, so I don't need. And then when he goes to the second one, he says that once you have given something in charity, right? Say I can't accept, I can't give it back. Okay. So the first one is not agreeing to accept 100 more cows because he says that he has sufficient cows, and then he can't accept 100 more cows. Okay. He wants only that cow. The second one says that the charity which is being given, it cannot be taken back. Okay. And this is the tussle which is going on. And so unfortunately the king couldn't solve the problem of the brahmanas, and then the brahmanas cursed him. Okay. So in the next life, so then he did all pious activities, and then he goes, so when we leave the body, then we go to Yamaraj, right? So then he goes to Yamaraj, and then Yamaraj sees his portfolio. Yeah. He says all 99 things which he has done, right? He has got all pious credit, and then one is negative remark on him, so which is nothing but the cow switching from one brahmana to the other. So then Yamaraj asks, so what do you want now? So do you want to enjoy your pious credits first, and then go back and say take the other karma, the bad karma at the end? So this king says that no, I want the punishment first, and then the rest of the pious activities afterwards. So he becomes a lizard, and then he is in a well. Yeah. And so one day, Krishna and his friends, right? So they were playing through in the forest, and then some ball or something fell in the well. So they went in and they saw that there is a big lizard. Yeah. And so all the Yadu boys, right? So they tried to pull in, but they couldn't pull out. So they came back and then they informed Krishna, saying that there is a big lizard and then we are not able to pull it. It's in a well. So Krishna knows all these things. So he just went and touched him, and then so a demigod came out of it. Yeah. So that's the story. Yeah. So in this Papa and Punya, right? So if without knowing or without adding devotional service in between, right? So without adding Krishna and all activities which we perform in the karma kanda, right? So the Papa and Punya equation is very difficult. Yeah, you see such a pious king, one mistake which was not his mistake also. So we don't know. So where there will be a gap, okay? So where that airline gap will happen, and then so we'll be actually cursed, and then so we'll have to reap that. Yeah, and if we do it for Krishna, and then if you follow the process and all those things, right? So even if we fall down at any time, right? So Krishna takes care of us, yeah, because we are dependent on him. Okay. So that's a story which I wanted to tell you from chapter 3, but I couldn't get the time, so I thought of covering today. Okay. So back to our chapter 5.3. So these are the next stages which is Krishna is telling. Okay. So one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person is free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage. Okay. So this is how a liberated soul looks like. Yeah. So that's what Krishna says is okay. And same thing. I think so. The next slide will actually give us the better understanding of Sankhya and devotion service. So this is from the purport. Yeah. So in the first place, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. Okay. And in devotional service, devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to work for Krishna consciousness. Okay. Detachment from material matter and attachment to Krishna consciousness. So factually, both processes are the same, although superficially one process appears to involve detachment, yeah, and the other process appears to the involvement of attachment. Detachment for matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. Okay, so that is the gist of yeah. So this is what we were thinking. We spoke, right? Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord cannot make one happy. Yeah? But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So we just spoke in, right? So wherein sitting ideally and then or doing renunciation forcefully, right, will not work out. So that is at times called Markata Vairagya. Yeah? So Markata is nothing but monkey. So that is monkey's Vairagya. So if you look at monkey, right, it looks very renounced, right? So it doesn't um, actually, if you look in, it is very lean and thin and thin, and then it doesn't have proper, it doesn't wear clothes and all, right? If you see, you think that okay, monkeys are renounced, eh? But say if you look right, all the monkeys, they'll be having so dozens of girlfriends, yeah. So that is how they do a lot of sense gratification, monkeys even. But yeah, we feel that okay, by looking them, they are very renounced, yeah. So we shouldn't do, or we even read about Falgu Vairagya, right? So we shouldn't do that. Yeah. So this is how to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yeah? So this is described more. Okay. So working with detachment, performance of Nishkama Karma Yoga. So one I neither identifies with the body nor activities that his body performs. Yeah. So this is Nishkama Karma Yoga. So basically, we right. So the conditioned soul, right? So it's basically entrapped in this 9 holes of the body, and then it thinks that he is the proprietor and then he is the doer of everything. Yeah, but it's not the thing. Yeah. So we'll know. So the relationship between Jiva, Paramatma, and the Prakriti. Okay. Say how this circle runs in, and then say the desire, right? The desire comes from ourselves. Yeah, the soul desires. Okay. The Paramatma sanctions, and the Prakriti actually makes us dance in the 3 modes of material nature. Okay. So we'll see those things in the coming slides. So the perfect knowledge is that I am a soul. Yeah? I'm not the body. Yeah? I'm the soul, and we should not have that I me mentality, right? So we should get away of that, and then we are qualitatively a small fragment of the Lord. We are qualitatively part and parcel of Supreme, but not quantitatively. So we have only, so even in the later chapters, right, in 15th chapter and all, you'll say there in some verses, the Jiva is also mentioned as Ishvara, but that doesn't mean that we are Ishvaras. So Ishvaras in the sense of the um, quality. Okay. So wherein the controller, right? So we are only the controllers of our own body. Yeah? And whereas the Lord is the controller of all the senses and of all the living entities. So, yeah, we are Anu and he is Vibhu. Okay, so that difference we should know in, and so he knows what is happening in every soul because he resides as Paramatma in every soul. Yeah, and he remembers everything, but we only know what happens. Our um, consciousness is limited to our body, that to temporary. So once this body is gone, so we don't remember anything. Yeah. Okay. So this is some question answer type of thing wherein who is a Nishkama Karma Yogi? Who are you? So if you basically ask him, right, he'll say that I'm a servant of God. What work do you do? Work allotted by God. How do you do the work? I work hard with sincerity, dedication to my best ability. And what do you do with the results? I hand it over to God. So this is all in all easy way to remember Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay. And so we should work with sincerity and dedication, and results we hand it over to the God. So the best example would be Hanuman. Yeah. So if you ask Hanuman, right, who are you? He'll say that I'm servant of Rama. What work do you do? Work allocated by Rama. So how do you work? How do you do the work? I work. So whatever Rama gives, right? He does it, and then he does a little bit more also. And what do you do? He gives the result to Rama. He doesn't actually own anything, or he is not proprietor for any of his actions. Yeah? So knowing this, right, one who works in devotion, who is pure, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone. Okay, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled, because if you have that attitude, right, so you'll not harm anyone, right, so you'll be equipoised to both enemies and friends, right? So where is the case of actually you'll not have duality itself. So then automatically, so you'll become pure, and then you'll not have any enemies, and then others, you'll become automatically dear to everyone. Yeah. And a person with the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving, about sleeping and breathing, always knows with himself that he actually does nothing at all, because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that the only only the material senses are engaged. Okay. So whatever he does, right? Uh, so he's thinking that all the material senses are engaged, yeah. But he is fixed in Krishna consciousness. So he's doing that for the maintenance. That's it. Yeah. And so the next one. So one who performs his duty without attachment and the results onto the Supreme Lord, right, is unaffected by sinful actions. Okay. Similar to this water drop, right, which is on the lotus leaf. So it is untouched with the water which we have here. Okay. So in that case, so we actually can think of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, I think this was a video, so which is the Srila Prabhupada's bhajan, which he does in the New York. Yeah. So in a park, he goes in, and then he does the kirtan for 2 hours. Yeah, wherein say at that time he didn't have any of the devotees. Yeah, so like say they were he was just starting, and then they were all hippies and all, right? So he was doing kirtan. Yeah, someday we can hear that kirtan also whenever we have time. So it's the original one is still authentic. Yeah. Mm. So, yeah, we can listen it. Yeah. So this is the yogis abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. Okay. So whatever, right? It's more like say in Krishna consciousness, whatever they do, right? So their body, mind, soul, everything is dedicated to Krishna. Okay. So that's the thing here. Yeah. So this is what Rigas fall down. Yeah. So we covered it. Okay. So this is good. So this is sinful reaction, and then Krishna consciousness and bodily consciousness. Yeah. Steadily devoted soul offers results to me. Okay. So this is 5.12 verse description. Others are greedy for the fruits of the labor. Result is entanglement. So if we don't offer, so if we are greedy of the fruits, then we are entangled, and then that cycle goes on. Okay. So this is knowing the three doers, right? So the living being, yeah, the material modes of nature, and the super soul. So this is important concept. So which everyone should understand. Yeah. So how we are actually performing the activities and what is the knowledge behind it, right? So those who are ignorant, they don't know, and then say they get entangled. Yeah. So this is what, right? I just spoke about those nine gates, right? So when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in this city of nine gates, the material body. So the nine gates are nothing but see the nostrils, ears, tongue, yes, and yeah, so the genitals, rectum, and all those things. So those are the nine gates. Okay. So we feel that the conditioned soul thinks that say he is the owner of all the body when he is in this nine gates. Yeah. So we'll know more. Yeah. So that's what nine gates or nine holes of the body. So knowledge of three doers. Okay. So the doer one is nothing but jiva. So not working or causing work to be done does not create activities. Okay. Does not create fruits of action. Okay. Whenever we renounce, we can happily live. So this is jiva. Okay. And then next we'll see the verse of so wherein the three modes of material nature, right? So in the material nature, say we feel that we are doing the activities, but no, we are just dancing. Okay. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activity, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So we are like Katputli, yeah, in the hands of material nature. And who is the doer? The super soul. Nor does the super soul, supreme lord, assume any sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers the real knowledge. So they are covered with the ignorance. Okay. So basically, what happens is, so we'll see. Okay. So this is Jiva. Yeah. Okay. So the modes of material nature, super soul. Okay. He doesn't take any responsibility of any pious or impious activities. Okay. So we have got a minute independence, and whenever we desire, right, so the Lord sanctions it. And then the material nature through the three modes of material nature, right, so it actually uh, acts. Okay. So here, so though the super soul is there to guide us, but yeah, because the adamant desires which we have in, right, so for that, so he lives in, he actually sanctions. Okay. So first thing is, so take an example of a small child, right? So if a small child, if he sees an ice cream, right, he says that he needs it. Okay. The father, when he approaches the father will say that no, but it's not good because you eat ice cream, then you'll fall sick. Okay. And then you'll have it's not good for health, he'll tell. But the child is adamant. Yeah. And then he says that I need, and then he starts pulling his father's shirt and all those things. And the father says, okay, go, what else I can do? So he buys it, or either he gives the money to get the ice cream. Yeah. So in that the same manner, so due to our adamant desires, right? And then we have got minute independence, hence the super soul actually sanctions it. Yeah. So this is what so jiva desires. Okay. The super soul in our heart actually sanctions it, whatever this jiva wants it. Okay. And then he is the owner of three modes of material nature. And then this modes of material nature, after receiving the super soul order, say they actually, the super soul material nature, say they actually give that result either in the form of sattva, raja, tamas. Yeah? They fulfill the desire in these three modes. Okay. And here there is a comparison of super soul and soul. Yeah. So this both are eternal. Yeah. Blissful but suffers when covered by Maya. Very easy. This is the same. Yeah. You see, one bird is eating fruit. That is us. And then we are drowning in the material ocean. And then this is Krishna, a super soul watching. Yeah. We are Anu, he is Vibhu. Yeah. We have minute independence, he has complete independence. He is above the modes. We are covered with the modes. Yeah. And then, okay, we'll cover one or two more slokas and then we'll wind it up. Or shall we wind up here today? Hare Krishna. Okay, I think it's fair, right? So we can cover it in the next class. If we start also, we'll not be able to cover all of this. So we'll cover it in the next session. So anyhow, the 17, right? 17 to 29, how many? 12 or 13 verses. So we should be able to do it. So it's not a big problem. So we can cover it in the next class. Okay. Hare Krishna, we'll stop here. Any questions you have, you can ask me. And you can fill in the attendance. Yeah. If you have not done, okay. And Aishwarya Mataji, how is our Bhakti Vriksha going on? So are we meeting every day?
Yes,
Every week,
Prabhuji.
sorry.
Yeah. We are doing twice a week on Wednesday and Wednesday and Friday. It's going really good. We have good attendance. Everyone
Oh,
is
is it?
participating. Yeah.
Okay. Then Bhakti Vriksha is going much better than class, huh?
No, Prabhuji. Not as many as the ones in the class, but we have like half of this attending. We have like
Okay.
8 to 9 members who attend.
Yeah, and then that's a good strength. Yeah. So then, yeah. So possibly weekend effect. So
Yeah.
we have less participants today. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. I have personally received some messages regarding that as well. Let's look at it. Even the timing.
Okay.
5 o'clock is a bit hard for some people because they have other plans.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
Okay. Any of we have recorded, we'll actually
Yes.
share this video. Okay.
They're watching recordings and they're attending quiz also. So I'm a bit back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If that is going, that's good. Okay. If there are no questions, then we'll wind up. I don't see any hands raised. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.